work, I take a second to breathe, yeah. Breathe in, breathe out. Couple rain clouds ain't gon' get me down. I said, breathe in, breathe out. I'm getting back to me. All the things I do, all the things I say, all the times I took a chance, all of the mistakes I made, none of it matters. None of it matters.
All right.
At all.
Hey, how are you?
I'm going to have to move this so I can see you properly.
Well, another episode, another living room.
Yeah, right? What is this, our
It's got to be the fifth different location. at
fifth
least.
different location? Yeah, we did.
Outside, inside at my house, Astoria,
Yeah,
your old apartment, your new apartment.
yeah. Yeah, this one, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this one feels the most right.
Yeah.
This I feel good here.
Yeah, man.
This one feels the most like a studio, I think.
Yeah, we'll get
Like-
there. That's the next stop.
Yeah,
This
but-
is the last stop before a studio.
Yeah, we got other things to figure out in our lives before we get there, probably.
Mm.
Yeah, but this feels nice. We've been on a bit of a, I don't know, it's what qualifies as a hiatus.
I mean, for us, I guess technically it's been a while because normally we record like once or twice a week, but
Yeah,
it's been about 2 weeks since we
Yeah.
sat down.
yeah. We've both had a lot going on, and
Yeah, man.
things have been getting in the way, but the stars aligned, and we were able to do this today, and I'm really glad we were able to.
Yeah, man. I'm very
Yeah.
happy and excited to be sitting down. You want to start off with your week though, because you had a big day on Monday. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, man.
Hosted your own comedy
Thank
show.
you, man. Yeah. No, it was. I'm so grateful for like number one. Forget the comedy, forget anything like that. Like I'm so lucky that I have friends who show up and support me. You know, I really am like, and all sorts of people. You know, from my dad to Jake to Luke to Marco, people like that. It's a beautiful thing, man, that I wanted to do something, and the people in my life were like, we'll be there.
Mhm.
We'll be there to support you no matter what it is. And I'm just so grateful. And on top of that, like, things went so well. The biggest thing that we were really worried about was who was gonna I wasn't super worried. Like I said, I was very grateful to have people who came and supported, but I think Gabby and I were both worried about, are we going to have enough people who go up and actually perform? And the most nerve-wracking thing was when it started, we had, I think, 3 people with their names written down to sign up. And I was super stressing about it because it's like, it's supposed to be like, you know, a long show thing. It's supposed to take up a certain amount of time. And what I think what came out of it, because I think we ended up having 7 people go up, which is like, I said to her, like, if we get more than like 5 people, that's a victory, honestly, because even just getting people to show up and do these things and create a safe environment is such a hard thing to do, and to create that, like, that somebody can get up there and share their art with other people. And that was one of the things that brought me the most joy, was that I felt like, because I went into it with the intent of giving people that space, that atmosphere was created. And as the show went on, more people were like, yeah, I'll get up. No, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll get up. And the fact that we just had, you know, like a few more people, and that I was kind of able to just say, anybody who goes up can kind of, and nobody like went for like a half an hour, but like that anybody was just like, I was just like, take as much time as you want. If you want to do 10 minutes, go for it. Normally these things would be like 5 minutes on the dot and you're done. But like people just kind of, I was just like, we have kind of unlimited time here. We have only a few performers. Take your time. And that made, I think, the show better than I could have ever imagined, because people were open to sharing, and it was amazing for me too, because like it was an open mic, but I've only done open mics, and this was the closest thing that felt like doing a real comedy show. And the combination of people helping out, people there to support, having people go up, like, really made it feel like, wow, like, this is something. Like, this may only be the beginning, and like we may be figuring some things out, but it went very quickly from, I just want to get through this and I want to get this done and move on to the next one, to this is like one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done. Like, my sets went great. I feel like everybody else's went really well too. And also, like, there were a few people who it was their first time ever their first time ever performing in front of other people. And that was kind of my number one goal, which was to create that safe space. And I feel like we accomplished that. So if you were there, thank you so much. I appreciate that more than anything. And we're going to be doing it every month. So come check it out. Or, if you want to perform, like, the stage will be open.
So you had like a lot of anxiety and nerves going into it. How did you feel afterwards? Like, how was that process of getting that all lined up for you? Because there was a lot that was going into it. I know you had a lot on your mind. Like, how did you say in that moment? You took it in and acknowledged everything. Didn't really like put a lot of pressure on yourself afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like a lot of the pressure came from. I think I realized, especially the day of, that a lot of the pressure that I was putting on the event was on stuff that was out of my control. And one of the things that I discussed with the people who helped me organize this was that, like, this is a success because it's happening. Nobody could show up, nothing could happen, but just the fact that we're doing this and that this is happening is a victory in its own. And I feel like once I let go of that, I started worrying less about like what my set was going to be, how things were going to go, who was going to show up, and just being like, this is what it is. It's literally an open mic. That's why I kept telling myself, like, be open to what happens. Be open to who shows up. Be open to what comes to your mind when you're up there. And one of the things that meant the world to me from the people who were there said that you really created an environment where people could also open up. And I was like, mission accomplished. So even if we were lucky enough to have a bunch of people go up, but even if it was only one person, it would have been hard, but it still would have been a victory, And I'm just very grateful, like, for having that, and I'm really, really excited, and I can't wait to see what the next one brings and what we can create out of that.
Yeah, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man.
You did something.
Thank you.
Did something that was challenging. And you stuck through it. You didn't give up.
It was so scary, and I said, like, it felt like one of the first, like, real times. We get anxiety all the time. Anxiety happens. But it felt like one of the first times where, like, anxiety was just, like, hanging over my shoulder, like, and I was just like, fuck you, bro, and, like, went up there and just did my thing. And that was, I think, incredible for just proving to myself that you don't have to let all that stuff win, Like, I've had a lot of times in the past where I have let those thoughts win, and this was something so meaningful to me that, like, it felt like such a, like to look that, like, I was able to find that within myself. And sometimes, and as time goes on, you think you don't have that. And I'm just like, in a way, like, I'm a little bit impressed with myself. Like, I honestly, like, I didn't know what was going to happen. And that is what happened.
Yeah, you just controlled the controllable and let everything else play
Yeah,
out.
exactly. Like letting go of all that stuff that was, like I said, none of like just telling myself like worrying about things that are out of your control is not going to help you when you're up there. It's not going to help you be a good host. It's not going to help you tell better jokes, and it's not going to help you open up the space for other people to get up there. So, I'm sure some of those feelings will come back at the next one, but at least I know and I have that in my pocket, the tools that I can use to be like, you got this.
Exactly, man. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. Growth,
Yeah, dude.
learning.
Yeah. No, I certainly learned a lot about myself from that, and I don't want to get caught up in. I feel like the next thing that I'm working on is not getting caught up in expecting every single one to just get better and better and well, you know what I mean, like, and just not having expectations and just knowing that like there's going to be ups and downs with this, and that the best thing I can do is just work on what I can control, hope people show up, and keep doing my thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I also literally, like, as soon as, like, it was so exhausting, and I literally, as soon as I got off the stage, like, immediately was like, I'm sick as a dog right now. Like, I don't even know how I got through that. Like, but I guess that's just kind of like you're running on adrenaline, and then eventually, like, I think there was just a huge weight off my shoulders of, I'll never host an open mic for the first time again.
Yeah.
And, like I said, just having that empowering feeling of like, and I don't want to take all the credit for it because there were a bunch of other people involved, but just having that in my, like, giving myself that confidence of like, I did that. Like, yes, people came out and supported me. Yes, there were other factors that helped me do this, but nobody forced me to get up there and do that. Like, that was me. And sometimes you have to take stock of that. Like, it's very easy to give other people credit, but sometimes it's really hard to give yourself credit.
Yeah. I think everybody always tells you to be humble all the time. And one thing I'm kind of starting to realize is like you can't be humble all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've really tried to just come from that space, but at the same time, like, nobody else is going to affirm for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to go out there and be like, yeah, I just hosted an open mic, like,
Yeah.
I just accomplished what I was trying to accomplish. Like, I did that, and I did it on my own. Like,
Mm-hmm.
other people helped for sure, and you're grateful for them, but, like,
Yeah.
you still got to, like, it's not arrogance, it's just being, like, confident. Because, like, you got to build that confidence. Because, like, a big thing we talk about all the time is self-worth. And especially for me recently, just like, I wouldn't say that I've been like depressed, because I know what that feels like and I can sit there and acknowledge that. I think what I've been dealing with a lot lately is just like, I'm in the lows, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in the trenches, but I'm not. Like, things have been going very well for me, and like I'm like checking boxes that I've been trying to check, and like I'm accomplishing things that I've wanted to accomplish, but like I feel like for my whole life I was so centered around like when you do something, people always are just like pat you on the back.
Yeah.
Like
the,
I very
the
much
external.
yeah, I very much came from that, especially like with bartending, like the awards and this stuff. Everybody was always just like, "Oh, you're so good at this," blah blah blah, and like you take it in, and like I think that turns into arrogance, but like it doesn't turn into it's not real confidence, and like that's something that I've been like struggling with, but I'm like really working toward right now is like I'm not gonna sit back and be like super humble. I'm also not gonna be like very cocky and arrogant, but like I'm just affirming for myself, like I'm right where I fucking need to be right now. Like that's been going on in my head a lot. I like get lost in these thoughts of like me and you had the conversation on the phone the other day. Like I checked off a box that I've been waiting to check off for 10 years that I put off.
Yeah.
And I just immediately thought like everything was going to change right there.
Yeah.
And that was like that was from lack of taking stock in it, like in
Mm-hmm.
the moment, you know. And like that's something that I'm really trying to push
Mm-hmm.
for right now, is to just be very present and like be proud of myself all the fucking time. Like this
Yeah.
is a fucking journey, and like look how far we've come. Like who thought we'd be here? You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
exactly. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't think, yeah. Like, who would have thought that, like, this is what we'd be doing? Like, 2 weeks ago, even, you know, whatever it was, I didn't even think I'd be living here. You know what I mean? Or two weeks ago, I never could have even imagined myself getting up during that open mic. Or, and one of the things that I actually was just listening to it on my way to go pick you up, and it was saying how, what would you do if external recognition wasn't a factor? And like that hit, like, you know, like and the term recognition kind of implies positivity, but I think that that can also mean like, what would you do if external judgment wasn't a thing that was you were going to consider, and then kind of taking stock in would you what would you really do? Like, what would you spend your time on if that wasn't a factor in what you're thinking? Because like we can all deny it as much as we want, but it's a you know, it probably plays a bigger factor than all of us even realize.
yeah. I mean, I'm on the train of thought now, like just from the last time we recorded, like things have changed so much with me. Like I'm just like that is the only constant in life, is just change. And like if you're not open to that uncomfortable feeling, and like I said, like nothing's going wrong for me, but I'm just like vibrating in a low space, like, and I've had my couple days where I'm like in between, which is really nice. That's how I felt the other day. And then like I haven't really been on a high feeling lately, but like that's okay. And I think it's just from like the realization that this shit is hard, man. This is fucking hard work. And like I was so rooted in everything that I experienced the last time we recorded, like having that moment of like self-realization. And now it's just like the constant work that goes into being present, just like, and just having the thoughts that you want to have. Like this is a fucking full-time job. And then sometimes it feels like there's no breaks and it's not going to end. And like you're just not, I said it to you on the phone, like I just feel like I've been in this fucking cocoon for so long, like just waiting to come out. And like maybe it's the winter, you know, like maybe it's just a season, like this is a season of growth. Like you really got to sit back and sit with yourself in the winter months. Like it's not like we're out doing stuff. And like hopefully that'll change soon with the spring. But like I'm just trying to get to this point where I'm like, I'm not, like you said, just not judging, but like I don't know, like
Yeah, I kind of felt like, not that we're there in any way possible. You know, I think you're always trying to get there, but I think the beginning of us not caring so much about the external factor was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the first time where we were really like, who cares what other people think? And also like, who cares how big this gets? You know? And that kind of started a little bit of a domino effect, but domino is a hard word because like it feels like it goes a lot slower than that, and you feel like it should you know, get exponentially better, but realistically it's like these little kind of like steps.
Yeah, it's like you said, like when we first started doing this, it was like kind of just being like, who cares what other people think? And I think it's gotten to the point now where like I don't care what other people think, but like I'm noticing myself thinking about how I think about it, like, you know, like, and it's just like, and it's like, fuck, like
that's a loop right there.
Like, yeah, man, it's so like everything I read about like being the observer and observing your thoughts is like so crazy to me, because I'm just like, I feel like I'm doing that, and then like then I start thinking about thinking, and I'm like, fuck, man, here we go, and it's just down this rabbit hole, and like That's where like that's where meditation's so big for me, like just trying to come back to presence. Cuz like especially right now, man, like I'm very very much staying positive with like the things that I'm telling myself, and like I'm not being combative with my ego. Like when I have negative thoughts, I just kind of am like stop fucking having them.
Well, you
But
don't. Yeah,
like
you also don't have to like. I mean, I struggle with it too, but like every thought doesn't have to be like this thing that is like a part of you.
yeah, I know. And it's like maybe I'm too in my head now. Like
No, see, you sound like me, bro.
I don't
That's
know,
what I
man.
sounded like.
Like
That's what
I
I
just
sound like a lot. Yeah.
so much is happening, and
Yeah.
like so much is changing in my life, and I know it. I can feel it right now. My fucking
What-
and my toes are just like shaking.
What do you like? Let's just say 6 months ago. What, like, if you can specifically, like, what do you feel is different about you know, thinking in your own head now versus then, and like or maybe like what you feel like you're overthinking, or what kind of effort you try to put into your thoughts.
Like 6 months ago, like when we first
Or
started
however
this-
long ago,
No,
you
just
know.
like that's a fine starting point.
Yeah.
Like 6 months ago, like I was very much in this space where I was like trying to be positive all the time. It's not like things have changed exponentially, but like a lot of stuff that I would say to myself and that I would tell myself back then, I always had like, I didn't believe it. It wasn't true for me yet, because like I knew that I was like trying to make the changes and I was trying to take the steps to be a better person and get to where I wanted to be, but I was still stuck in like, I was still in a relationship. I was still fucking dealing with the stuff from the past because of that. Like it just came up all the time for me. And then now we're at the point where like it's been 2 months almost since the relationship ended, and I've moved past what was holding me back then. Like the thoughts that like the past coming up, that shit's not coming up anymore. Now what's coming up for me is just like I hear myself sometimes just being like, I'll be in a very good place. I'll be writing and I'll be happy. And then like a thought comes and it's just like, you ain't got nothing left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, is it right? Like I'm writing and I'm like, I stop writing and I'm like, nothing else is coming out. And then I'll be like, all right, well that just means you're done writing for right now. You know, like this isn't the end of writing.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then I get into the thought process of like, maybe this is the end of writing, you know? Maybe I fucking suck at this.
yeah.
And then I'm like, no, you can't talk to yourself like that. And it's just like a lot of back and forth recently. And it's just fucking tiring, man. It's tiring, but like I know that I have to do it. Like that's the hardest part of this, is like knowing that I have to wake up and show up for myself every day, man, because it's fucking exhausting. And like you put in everything else that goes with life, and it's just like this isn't so bad, you know? Like it's not. It's just the work that I have to do to be in the place that I want to be at, and I am where I need to be right now. You know, like I keep going back to that, and I think it's big. Like life is going to unfold the way it's supposed to unfold, you know, and you have to take stock that you are where you're supposed to be at that moment. Your decisions led you to here, and those were the decisions you had to make because the universe was having you make them.
Yeah, and I think, like what you said there, there's like so much work to be put into kind of like deciphering that. I feel like my voice keeps cracking. It's just because I'm sick. It's not because I'm of like deciphering the difference between, is that like my gut talking, or is that just like the voice in my head that doesn't want me to succeed. And like you said, like and it can be very hard to figure out, but it's just like, is that voice telling you to stop writing because like, no, like you've actually like thought it through, you've said everything you need to say, and you can move on with your day? Or is it being like, you should give up because you don't have anything interesting to say. And I feel like that multiplies into all sorts of other areas of your life because it can be so easy to like fall victim to like it's almost like you can't let yourself off easy by being like, oh yeah, that's all I got today. Like, but like in deep down in the back of your mind, you know that like that's not why you're stopping. You're stopping because of some other reason.
Yeah. I mean, like, I just, in my phone, like, when was the last time? I wrote yesterday. I mean, like, I've been writing constantly, and, like, most of it's, I think, is positive. Like, I wrote a long letter to my brother yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Or 2 days ago. Yeah, I got a lot of shit off my chest from that. But it's just, like, all ups and downs, man. It's, like, this whole... I think it's because I know I'm starting to get like very paradoxical. Like reading Alan Watts is like really changing my thought process and opening like my mind to like the way that this game works, like the way that the universe is, like how you not necessarily like it's I realize how a lot of other people think now. You know?
Just realize that all of us are like paradoxes, and that
Yeah.
and that like one day you can be one thing and then the next day it can be very different, and that you're not defined by either one of those things.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I just like I think maybe I should just take a break from Alan Watts. It's just like very like he's so philosophical sometimes, like that the way that I interpret things, it takes me so long to let it sit in. And like I don't know, I feel like I might just be overthinking things a lot lately. Now that me and you are sitting down here and we're actually talking about this, I feel like I've just been overthinking too much. And not like, because I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to be present in my mind all the time, and I'm not outwardly present as much because I have so much going on up here. And then if I just like sat back and was just like let it run for a minute, like just let the engine run and like let it wear itself out, like it'd probably be a little bit easier.
Yeah. Another thing that I was listening to this morning, which was like the difference between thoughts and thinking. That like thoughts are okay, thoughts are fine, and kind of thoughts are, at least to a certain extent, out of your control, right? But then the thinking can be kind of what gets us in trouble. And when I say thinking, I don't mean like
You mean like taking one of those thoughts and thinking that through?
yeah, and like thinking at it from 100 different ways.
Yeah.
I don't mean like I'll just because you brought it up, like there's a difference between like thinking about a breakup in a realistic way versus just thinking it to death, you know, and like thinking about it, and then before you know it, you're 3 years back, or you're 6 years ahead, or you're imagining some scenario that doesn't even really like exist or hasn't happened or isn't realistic, and then you find yourself kind of trapped into this like weaving idea of what I'm thinking about is reality, because your brain can't tell the difference. Your brain literally cannot tell, like if you're thinking and imagining things, and that works both ways too though. So like at least if you're going to think about stuff, at least try to think about it positively.
I read this like this has got to be 2 weeks ago now, yeah, because I'm on the 55th verse and this is the 40th. I'm trying to find something. Oh, here we go. I think this was the beginning of it for me when I started like getting in my head the last like 2 weeks. and like, so in Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, it's very much him just summarizing the Tao and like how to live by the Tao. And I think I've been trying to be so much in balance that I am thinking myself out of balance. You know what I mean? Instead of just being and literally just fucking being, like nothing else. I'm kind of like and allowing things to flow through me. I'm like overthinking what I'm allowing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that he said this: strategically place a picture of a yield sign, frequently found as a traffic device within your field of vision. Each time you look at the sign, use it as a reminder to return to the Tao. At least once each day, rather than continuing a disagreement, see it on the spot. In the midst of talking about your own achievements or basking in the light of your own ego, stop and become an instant listener. The more you yield each day, the more you return to peace and harmony of the Tao. And I think that's what I've been. I'm just so in my head trying to monitor everything, which I feel like is part of the process and I have to do. Yeah. But like, maybe I just didn't realize how hard this is. Like, just to become like,
I think it's
self-aware all the time. Yeah. Like,
I think you just want like, and we're all guilty of it. Like, myself included. That like. I think everybody wants the instant gratification and satisfaction of like, no, like tomorrow it all changes. That's why everybody's obsessed with New Year's resolutions and things like that. That you want it to happen overnight. You want it to be like quick like that. And it's funny that you say that because, I was the other night I was watching the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith show. And it's fucking great. I love it. It's awesome. But there was something like so valuable in there, and they were doing it in the context of a relationship, which is like they were in couples therapy, and it was like when you feel like things are going off the rails, or you feel like things are getting out of hand, and like you don't know where things are about to go, just say time out, take a break, and then come back to it. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually not as important as you think it is. And how I kind of interpreted that was like you can do that in your own personal life too. Like how many times, like as a personal with someone who has like a master's degree in overthinking, I feel like how many times do we find ourselves, you have one thought that is so ridiculous or, so negative or definitely not beneficial to you. And before you know it, a half an hour later, you've gone down a rabbit hole of being like, well, whatever. So to just take that time to be like, just even though it's from a TV show, like to just like take that. I'm sure that's not like people have been saying stuff like that for a long time, but to just like take that time to be like, okay, like, I'm in a weird spot right now, or I'm spiraling, or whatever it might be. Just take a time out.
Take a time out.
I have to make sure that's not my car. It's definitely not my car.
Well. Just allow it to be, man.
Yeah, this is kind of the this is the process that we go through, right?
This is exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
being
right?
patient.
Exactly.
Just being patient. I was listening to Jay Shetty the other day, and one of the things that he had a guest on, I talked to you about this a little bit, is like he had the guest on and they were doing a meditation, and he was talking about just sitting across from another person while you're meditating and not like having a conversation, but you pose this question to each other and it's just tell me who you are. And I've been saying that to myself a lot lately, like when I meditate, or just like if I'm laying in bed or if I'm sitting around, like just trying to see what comes up. And honestly, like the last couple of days, it's just like been change. Like that's all that comes up. It's just like I am change. Like everything is constantly changing, and like I'm just developing so much right now that like I don't think I'm used to it, and everything is new, and things are like coming and going in my life. I'm just at a very weird period of where I am, you know, like. I think right now I'm stopping and I'm taking this time to realize that, like, you have, like, had a crazy 2 months. Like, maybe you are putting way too much pressure on yourself. Like,
I think we all put too much pressure on ourselves.
yeah.
You know, like there's this constant thing that like
We're both trying to be
the person is definitely not here right now.
Yeah, we're both trying to be so patient. It's funny to watch patience in a video.
Yeah, right. Like, but I think like we all have issues with, like I said, you want things to happen overnight. You want it to be different, and you know, a lot of us have such a hard time with being ourselves that you want to wake up tomorrow and be so different. But it doesn't work that way. It's the little choices over time, little by little by little by little by little, that make all the difference. And that, like, you know this already, but like the changes you're trying to make don't happen in 2 months.
No.
They take years, you know.
It's so crazy too, because I will sit here and I'll tell anybody that I talk to that asks me like questions about this journey and like
God
how
bless
things,
America.
yeah.
Thank goodness.
See, patience, man, patience. I think the car just got tired. Nah, like
Shit, I'm tired too.
But the thing I've been like, I'm so quick to tell everybody else that it's a process. Like whenever somebody's like, "Good for you, you're doing great," and I'm like, "No, this is a process," and then I don't ever take the time for myself to be like,
Yeah.
"This is a process." Like, stop fucking freaking out. Like,
Yeah.
this shit takes time. Like, the stuff I'm letting go of too isn't like little shit, you know? Like, it's baggage that's been with me for 30 fucking years, and like, to take the time to just like know that it's there and it has to be dealt with is like something that's big. Like, dude, it's been 10 years since I got a DWI, and I'm finally getting my license back.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think there's a balance. There's such a balance between, like, giving yourself the time and space and credit for what you're doing right now, and to also recognize that there's more work to be done, and that you have a long road to go, and that you're just on that path. And it can feel like conflicting ideas to recognize that both of those things are true, but then you realize also that, like, everything in life is kind of like the opposite ends of things, and that there's no there's like no kind of, if we were all on, like, we're obviously all on different paths, but if we were all on like this path where everything made sense, then immediately we would all be like, God, when the fuck is something going to go wrong?
yeah.
But because things always go wrong, we somehow wake up every day and expect that, like, oh, today will be the day where things finally, like, go exactly the way I hope they would. And that's not the answer either. So it's kind of, it's like, you're not expecting things to go wrong, but you know that, like, it's only wrong because your mind said that it's wrong.
Yeah. I like... Well, I mean, I said it already. It's been like 10 years since I got that DWI.
Yeah.
And I've just been driving around illegally, just pushing it for 10 years.
A young Paul Walker.
Yeah. And like, I think I had so much built up in my mind that when I finally went and paid the fine, just paying the fine, I was like, everything's going to go back to normal. Like, I'm instantly going to feel like, okay, I'm an adult. And it's just like what we talked about, like this, I am very much growing up right now, and I need to be aware of that. I need to let it happen, and I can't have these expectations placed on myself that I put there, that like, okay, one thing changed and now everything's that's not how this works. It's not how this works at all. It's just like, I made one step forward, and now I have to keep walking on that path and like just keep going with it. It's like You know, I'm kind of excited to, like, we talk about getting that rule number 6 tattoo because it's so big.
Yeah, it's gotta be done.
Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously.
Yeah.
But like, it's like when I got the tattoo on my arm,
Yeah.
I made a joke to you. I remember making it. It's just like, yeah, man, I got this tattoo. Now I have to change the way I fucking live. And like,
Yeah.
it's so funny that it's true. Like I'm literally on this path now, like just taking it one day at a time. Where like I'm just trying to be like as mindful as I can be all the time, and like in balance and just out. I'm trying to be out of the fucking way, you know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to let things happen, and like sometimes be in that process you're just getting in the fucking way.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you feel like you've forgiven yourself completely for what happened 10 years ago? Or do you think that you won't truly be able to until like all of the kind of like DMV and all that shit is solved? Like, do you factor that into the process of forgiving yourself, or do you feel like you're kind of past that and now you're annoyed by having to do these kind of like bureaucratic things to fully get past it?
I think that I let go of the actual incident and the stuff that happened a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I stopped drinking, I think that kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
But there was always the lingering of like, now I'm just driving around without a license and breaking the law all the time, and like this shit, karma's a motherfucker. It's gonna come back and get you at some point. And like, not that anything terrible has happened to me, but like I have had to face just the inner stuff from that, you know, like.
Yeah.
Because all of that brings up.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I feel like I've let go of the incident. What is carrying around with me is that I was a child for the next 10 years after that. Like, I never took responsibility for it. I didn't do anything differently. I just kept being the same. And paying the fine was the first step to getting my license back, which is me growing up symbolically. Like, I'm enough fooling around. It's time to be an adult and gain some independence in your life. And I think that's what I'm working through right now, is like that I know things are going to change, and it's uncomfortable because I've been so used to just being in a comfort zone and letting things be the way they were and just taking chances, that like now that I'm taking the time to like really be present and change the situation, it's just like hard.
So in a way, kind of, and you know, you tell me what you think, but kind of what I'm hearing is that like you've let go of what actually happened, but you haven't fully moved past how you dealt with it.
Yeah. I'm coming to terms with the fact that, okay, I hate when people say that you wasted time, because like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's,
Well, all of this is just what's meant.
Yeah,
This is what's meant to happen.
exactly.
Like, you don't know if you genuinely don't know that like you wouldn't be here right now on the path to being a better person if that didn't happen.
yeah, like I could have got my license 6 months after it happened. You know?
Exactly, yeah. But you don't, yeah, and exactly, and you don't know what path you would have gone down, or you know, like there's no way of knowing whether something way better or way worse would have happened.
Yeah, I think what I'm dealing with is like, for 10 years, I didn't live the way that I could have lived, you know, like, and it's not that I regret it. It's just like, I see it now. Like, I could have been independent all this time. Maybe I would have started making these changes years ago if I wasn't.
But there's no way of knowing that, so.
And like, you can't overthink it, but like, I think that's been coming up for me, you know, like, why'd you wait so long?
Yeah.
And then like,
but what, you know, like what use does it do for you to be like, oh, I could have done this differently. I could have done. I feel not. It's a very different thing, obviously, but like now with how much I enjoy doing comedy, I look at it and I'm like, God, like what if I was 23 and I started doing this? Like where would I be now? But like that's just not the way it is. And like what use does it do for me to be like, oh well, starting when you're 31 is fucking silly. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Well, this is the way it is.
Yeah.
So, like, does it serve me in any way? Like, just like it doesn't serve you in any way to be like, oh, like, my life would be way more different, or maybe I would have been on a better path of change if I had faced this sooner. That just doesn't serve us. Like, you're here now. That just brings us right back to what we were talking about, which is being present. Like, you can't possibly be present and wish that, like, you had made different decisions in your life. You know, like, you can learn from them, obviously, but it doesn't serve us in any way to sit here and be like, oh, like, God, like, what would I have done if I had, you know, if when I was X amount of years old, or if I had pursued something differently, or if I had made a change sooner. Like, doesn't serve you.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You can sit around all you want and be like, oh, if I had who knows how amazing my life would be if I had stopped drinking 6 years ago. Or, you know, who knows what my life would be like if I had never done hard drugs. Or who knows what my life would be like if I hadn't, you know, had legal issues with driving and things like that. That just, like, it just doesn't serve you, you know.
Yeah.
We're all trying to be better, and like, regret is such a, like, brutal thing to put your mind through. And it just, like, you can be like so hard on yourself with things like that, and it doesn't, you know, regret isn't going to save you, but trying a little bit of change today might.
Yeah, it's like, the name of the game is growth, you know what I mean? Like, you have to grow, you have to, like, acknowledge where you were wrong in the past to be right in the future, or to be in a better spot in the future. There's no right or wrong. But, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just, like, it's kind of like how you felt, like, 2 weeks ago when we did this. Like, I just don't give myself enough fucking credit sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. Like, this is growth. This is literally fucking growing up. This is one of the steps that I have to take in growing up. And, like, I fucking know I'm where I'm supposed to be. I just keep trying to affirm that to myself. Like, this is fucking hard, and it'll get easier, or it won't, you know? But, like, you just got to keep going forward. And, like, sometimes I'm so quick to I feel like I've drained myself kind of the last couple weeks. Just, like, going out of my way to, like, help everybody else and, like, just be, like, present in helping other people and telling other people what they want to hear, like, what they need to hear, like, what should be said to them. And I don't fucking
which, like,
sit.
I know damn well what you said to me, fucking however long ago that was, a couple weeks ago, when it was like I was absolutely spiraling. I was like, who do I think I am, thinking that, like, people want to hear what I have to say. And it's I think the struggle can come from, because I'm guilty of it. I know you feel like you're guilty of it too, which is, like, when you spend a long amount of your time being selfish, it can be hard to turn around and give yourself any type of credit or whatever it might be, because you kind of associate giving yourself any type of credit with being selfish.
Yeah.
But the difference is that knowing where your intent is coming from, you know, like, we talk, you know, I've heard it a million times, which is that, like, how are you possibly gonna, you know, inspire other people or give your best or do whatever if you don't take care of yourself first? And I think a lot of us overlook that. And I'm trying to remember where I heard, maybe it was just on a video on social media. and I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it was like, instead of, um, see, now I'm just like blanking on it. I'm like, what the, it was basically like being like, instead of saying, I'm gonna do like, I'm gonna love you for the sake of me. It was like, I'm gonna love myself for the sake of you. And I know that it was way deeper than that, and it was way better said, but I think we sometimes overlook the fact of, you have to put that time in for yourself in order to, work on that for other people.
Yeah, like the time to yourself too is like, I've been giving myself so much time to myself, maybe too much, maybe not enough. I just like the other things that crawl in too though, like when you're sitting in that space, like I like it, attention is like a huge thing that I feel like not a lot of people recognize that like they have an addiction to, like you need attention, like otherwise you feel like stale or out of place. And like I don't know, like having, when I had a girlfriend, you have somebody to talk to all the time, and like even like it's a distraction. And then when you don't have a girlfriend, it's like, well, now I'm really spending the time I want to spend with myself
Yeah.
but like it can get lonely. And then like you go and talk to somebody and you're like, this isn't what I want though. Like I want this time to myself. And I
Yeah.
think it's just become, I'm in a game that I'm playing with myself right now where it's like, do you want to like be around other people and like interact with other people? Do you need this attention for a real reason, or do you just want it for a moment? Because as soon as you get it, you just want to be by your fucking self again.
Yeah.
And like that's been a struggle for me like lately. Like I'm not in a rush to get into a relationship whatsoever, because the only relationship
Yeah.
that matters right now is the one with myself.
Yeah.
But because of the past and from going from relationship to relationship to relationship like I always did, this is fucking trying times right now. Because I don't have somebody to lean on. I can't just text somebody like I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to have sex with anybody, but like to know I could
Yes. Yeah.
is
yeah,
like
yep.
a thing that I've always had.
Yep.
And now it's just like I'm just
Absolutely, bro. You're not
I
wrong.
think about like what I want, and like that'll come up and I'm like, check yourself though.
Yeah.
Check yourself, because is there a point in starting any interaction with anybody that the second that you get what you want, that instant glorification, you're going to be right back to here where I want to be fucking alone and I need to be with myself right now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm having a hard time checking myself in those spots. Like it'll come up and I'll be like, what moves do I still have? Like, do I still have the sauce? And then
Yeah.
like the second I know, like
Yeah.
it starts to simmer, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I just need to be alone. And like I'm struggling
Yeah.
so much with just being by myself, like because it's been so long since I really have been. We were in a relationship for 5 years. I was in a 4-year relationship right before that. I was in like bouncing around relationships right before that one started. Like I've had no fucking time to get to know myself. And like now I'm getting to know myself, and one of the things I'm working through is working through the past, and like these are just things from the past that are coming up, and it's like taking the time to just be like, just be still. Just be. Don't try and do anything. Don't even fucking meditate. Just be. Because, like, sometimes I'll catch myself and I'm like, I'm kind of bored right now. And that's when I want to, like, talk to somebody. And I'm like, how could you fucking be bored being right now? Like, just experiencing life. How could you fucking be bored of this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because like you've been in long-term relationships, and a lot of what I've struggled with over, I'd say since being a teenager, but especially now as you get further into your 20s and the time kind of feels different, is that like I've never been in a relationship for longer than like basically a year. you know. So what I always craved and what I always wanted was like the long relationship, the not even necessarily the marriage, but like somebody who is like who wanted to be with you for a longer period of time. And as I've, you know, as we've been doing not only this, but I've been trying to discover more about myself, and I look at people who have been in relationships for a while. I look at my friends who are married, you know, and you look at it and you know, you from the outside looking in, you see all these good things about it. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing. There's plenty of, I'm sure, awesome that I wouldn't know personally, but awesome kind of like advantages to like, yeah, like having somebody who you can come home to and you feel like you can be vulnerable with and you can talk to about anything, stuff like that. But then I'm like what you just said, which was like, do I really want that? It's a lot of fucking work to be married or to have kids or to like have everything that is part of your life be intertwined with somebody else. Do I want, and like I don't necessarily even know, like, do I want a long-term relationship like that goes on for years or whatever, that is healthy and fulfilling? It's great. To all the people out there who have that, I'm sure that's fantastic. Or is what I'm craving just the idea of somebody who wants to be with me beyond that year and a half point that makes me feel like, oh, like, you're worthy of that.
Yeah, I feel like it's self-worth, and it's just like everybody else is in a relationship, why aren't you in one?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think about a lot of relationships that I see, like what you say, and like, you don't know because it's not your experience, but like, how do I know that's good? You know?
Yeah.
Like, how do I know that's right?
Absolutely.
Because like, I don't know, like, it's not my experience, like I said, but like, do you guys love yourselves and then you love each other? Or are you guys just in this facade that we're in a relationship, so like I put you on a pedestal that you can't ever accomplish, and you put me on a pedestal that I can't ever accomplish, and then we bicker back and forth, and we just stay here because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think my thing right now is like, I definitely love myself. I'm getting there. There's a lot more work. There's a lot more work to be done, though.
I try too. It's not easy.
I think of like, what could I bring to a relationship right now?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know there's things I could bring, but I can also list off 10 things that I can't. You know?
Yeah.
And like, the fact that the list is that long and I can think of it so immediate is that I don't need to be in a relationship with anybody other than myself right now.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think you made a really good point about the kind of physical aspect of relationships, which is that like, and like, don't get me wrong, sex is great. Like, but kind of like, like you said, like, do you is the feeling that I'm looking for from having that physical intimacy with someone, could I get that same feeling just from knowing that like I could?
Yeah.
You know, like, is it just the feeling of, okay, like, you want to hook up with me,
Yeah.
you know, or is that the feeling you want, or is the feeling you want to actually do something with them?
Yeah. I feel like right now where I'm at is like, I just want to know I still got the sauce.
You still got it, bro. You still got it.
Like, yeah, and I know I do. Like, I don't need to fucking be out here trying. Like, there's plenty of fishes in the sea, and lately it feels like they're swimming to me. I don't need to be in that space though. Like, you know, and it's something that I'm dealing with because, like I said, like, I've been in relationships my whole life, so it just feels natural, and like it feels like I gravitate toward that, and like.
I think we all. I don't think we necessarily all do, but I think we all crave that feeling of being wanted.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's just like, my mom wrote a really nice little note on like my affirmation board the other day. I have one that's just, I wrote out like, I love me, and it's on the corner.
Yeah.
And my mom just like posted on right underneath it, and it was just like, don't forget I love you too. And I was like, see,
Aw.
that's enough. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need any.
Well,
of
no,
these
yeah,
bitches.
that you, yeah, yeah, exactly. Is that like what? And I think that's exactly kind of what you're talking about in
Yeah.
terms of being self-aware.
Yeah, this
which is which is like what is it that you really want? Like, you can convince yourself all you want that, like, yeah, like I want that, like, passionate, undying love, but like also at the same time, is what you want just like somebody to support you? Like you want somebody to be like, yeah, you can do that thing.
Yeah, and
Like, and then maybe like the sex is good too, but like, like, or is what you want just that? Like, I think that kind of people, I don't want to generalize anybody, but I think that sometimes people trick themselves into thinking that, oh, this is what I want and this can make me.
Yeah.
But like you realize that like some of that stuff is very unfulfilling.
Yeah, it's like I said to you before too, like, can't always be humble. Sometimes you just got to say it for yourself, and like that makes that lessens the need for somebody else to say it.
I think you can always be humble, but I think I just think that there's a difference between, like, I guess, like, I think it's basically being aware of like why you're giving yourself credit. Mm-hmm. Like, are you giving yourself credit because like this is genuinely good for you, and or are you giving yourself credit because that's what you need to like feel better about maybe making a poor decision. Mm-hmm. But I also think part of it too is being willing enough to give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Being willing to be able to be like, like we talk about this all the time, but I'm gonna keep fucking saying it, which is that like treating yourself with the same grace that you would treat your friend, like that I give you. You know what I mean? Like when you call me and you're in a bad place, if I said to you what you were saying to yourself, we wouldn't be pals, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not easy. It takes time, but giving yourself the kind of like the grace and the space when you are feeling that way to say like, oh, like, like what would Steve say to me? Mm-hmm. What would my mom or my dad say to me? I'm blessed enough that I have multiple people that I can turn to in times like that, and being aware enough to, when you're beating yourself up, you're putting pressure on yourself, you feel like you're not worthy, to say, what would somebody who really supports me and care about me say? Mm-hmm. And I think building up that skill doesn't happen overnight. Over time, can eventually train you to talk to yourself like how the people who really love you and care about you would talk to you and would support you in that moment where you feel like, I'm a piece of shit, I'm not worthy of this, I don't deserve this. That was, like I said, I always feel like I'm only, you know what, let's say it this way, so I usually feel like I'm 1% of the way there. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm 2% of the way there.
That's progress.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a. I think half the battle is just realizing that that kind of back and forth is never over.
Yeah.
And you can train yourself too, but like it doesn't just end with like one time of being able to bounce back.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said is big for me. Is like, maybe I don't give myself enough credit. Is like, I don't know when it happened, but I've obviously become aware enough of myself to like know, like, to check myself. Like, are you just talking to this girl because you want to talk to somebody, or are you talking to this girl because there's a reason there?
Yeah.
And like, now I guess I know, like.
Mm-hmm.
One, I want to be by myself, so leave me alone. and two, like,
shut the fuck up.
And two, like, I'm aware of that, and that's good. That's progress. That's growth, man.
Mm-hmm. But then, but I think then also is part of it is being like, even if I slip up and do that, like, that's okay too.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all human. We all want connection. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel, you know, like attractive. Like we have the sauce.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all are guilty of feeling that way, and we're all human. And there's a balance there of it's okay. It's okay. Like, you know, we're human beings.
Yeah, man. This is the human experience.
That should be the name of this episode. We're human beings.
We're human beings. Let's go with it. Episode 22. Yeah, man. It's just a lot of fucking work, man. I
Yeah.
feel like Gerard Carmichael in 8 when he's talking about what it's like to be a black person. Just like a lot of fucking work, man. And it's just like a lot of work to be self-realized. You know, like to be self-aware is a lot of fucking work, man.
I forgot that I watched The Disaster Artist on Thursday. I
He's in
forgot he
that?
was in
Oh
that.
yeah, he's his friend, right?
Yeah, but he's like, you gotta hang out with that you gotta stop hanging out with that Frankenstein looking motherfucker. All the pussies dry up when he shows up.
Oh man.
Yeah, man, it's a you know, it's a never end. But I think that I think I'd say because I certainly try to work on it, and I'll give you the same advice, which is that like try to find the joy in becoming better, and being in being aware, versus like being like, oh, I gotta wake up again today and be a better person, like because in a way that's not gonna help you either.
Yeah, because everybody has shit days, man.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, exactly,
It's
and
the way it goes.
yeah, kind of recognizing the ups and downs of life, and it's kind of like, you know, we've kind of been trained on it in working in restaurants. You have good days and you have bad days. Some days you make $500, some days you make 50.
Yep.
And that is kind of the way, and I feel like that's kind of a good metaphor for how the spiritual journey works, which is that you know, like some days you're gonna have these huge breakthroughs maybe, or these moments of clarity, but they don't happen without those like days where you took that just small minuscule step of saying like, all I have in me today is to meditate, and you did that. But the build up in that happens over time, just like it's kind of like you can't have that day where you make the huge tip without being there on the Tuesday night where it's pouring rain out and nobody comes out.
Yeah.
And shout out to all my restaurant people.
Yeah, man. I say it all the time. It's a fucking journey, bro. It's
Yeah.
a journey. But we're actively taking the steps to be in a better place and to be a better person and to be more aligned with the universe. Fucking feel connected to whatever you feel connected to, man. Put yourself in that space and just keep doing the work. Because that's all you got, man. That's all you got. You ain't got nothing but time to grow.
Yeah.
You know, don't waste it doing other things. Fucking take the time to actually grow.
Yeah. This felt so good, and I think that we've been saying this since we started doing this, which was like just sitting down here and doing this helps us so much.
Yeah, I definitely feel lighter than I did before we started.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we talked about this in the beginning. Like, it's like what could be wrong with sitting down with your best friend and talking about life?
Yeah, man. The shit that you don't normally talk about.
Well, it's not that we don't. I find that we definitely
we talk about it.
we
all the
definitely
time.
we definitely talk about it, but I think it helps because this is like very intentional. You know, sometimes that happens randomly. Like we were that's kind of I think what made us do this to begin with, was that so much good was coming out of doing it in our own lives that we said like, well, why not just make it a thing that is like a business thing, but that like we always get something. You know, I never leave here and I'm like, or I never like, I'm done doing this and feel like it wasn't beneficial to my mental health or to my spiritual journey. So
Yeah, no. I like I said, it's about we both like to serve in some way, shape, or form. Like yours is through comedy and doing this, and like I'm still figuring out mine. I know writing's part of it. I know like working in a restaurant's
Yeah,
a good
but I
way
mean,
for me to serve. Like
for right
sitting down
now,
and
it's okay if
talking.
it's this, you know?
Yeah, like it's just the process. And at least I mean, I know we're helping people, man. I
Yeah.
see I get the text messages and the messages on my phone.
Yeah.
Like I see people reaching out. Like
Mhm.
I know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just staying on that path.
Mm-hmm.
One day at a time, finding the little joys. Like I went for a run yesterday and I killed it,
Mhm.
and I didn't give myself any credit for that. It was my first run in like 2 months. I
Mhm.
like took a long break since I've been home and I haven't been out there. And it was warmer yesterday, but it wasn't perfect out. And I
Yeah.
fucking just banged out a nice run. Went out there and got
Yeah.
it done. And like I gotta take care of my body, and that
Mhm.
makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So
Like, this is the thing, and I actually think that a couple weeks ago when I went to yoga, this is something that Will Buck said. Shout out to Will. That's the guy. Because I've been sick as a dog the last 4 days, and today has been today was like the first day where I woke up and was like, God, I'm finally like feeling better. And it's so easy to be kind of ungrateful or to be hooked on the next thing or worried about something or whatever, and then all of a sudden something that you're not planning on comes up, and it's like, God, man, I just want to feel better. Like, God, man, I would give everything just to like be able to breathe right now or whatever. And I feel like if you can kind of carry that over into when you are feeling good or when things are going great, to take stock in that versus always jumping to the next thing, that's a huge step.
yeah. Yeah, man, I agree.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
I think I'm tapped out for today.
All that glitters and gold. I had money, been broke. I've been high, been low. I done picked it-